Hello and welcome to the show today. If you are out there giving me a fabulous live stream moment, if you're out there watching, I would love to know. Um, Welcome to the Fear Free Human Show. I'm having some technical difficulties with my system, and so I just want to make sure that um, that you guys are out there. I logged on today. I'm having the weirdest experience. I logged on today and it didn't have the show time and date on it, and my settings were all off, and so I'm a little unsure. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this and hope that it's showing up out there. In fact, I'm going to check on YouTube right now and see what we've got going on. Let's see here. And in the meantime, today I wanted to talk to you about stories. How do we get our beliefs? The things that close us when we're using our internal guidance system, they're thoughts that come from our childhood between the ages of 0 and 7. But where does that really mean? How does that really work? Okay. My question for you is, do you know what happens when you form a closing belief? Do you know where it comes from? It comes from the story that you made up as a baby. That's right. It comes from the story that you made up as you were moving from 0 to 7. And so what would happen is that as you're out there, you would start making things up. Literally, your mind is trying to make sense of things. And your unique individual personality is the thing that colors, it's the filter with which it comes through. And so your mind can't help itself but to relate back to the story it made up between the ages of 0 and 7. And even though you've gone through so many experiences after the age of 7, as you've moved through your life, I'm 54, so there's been lots of stories made in my life after the age of 7. They all have a foundation in the 0 to 7 storytelling. And so one of the most powerful ways that you can learn and use your internal guidance system to find openings is to examine the story that you're telling yourself. Very often, we just think that what we're thinking is absolutely 100% true. And what you'll find more and more and more as you use your internal guidance system, when you have the lump in your throat and the tightness in the chest and the sick feeling in the solar plex area, when that shows up for you, if you examine the story that you're telling yourself about the situation, you will find the false truths, the unexamined assumptions that are no longer true or may have never been true. I know that I've had certain experiences from my childhood that colored who I believed I was, only to find out that the labels I was given when I was a kid were false. They weren't true for me at all. I was told many different things about my personality just simply because they didn't understand who I was at 3, 4, and 5. And I was determined and headstrong, but I was labeled disruptive and a brat. And it wasn't that. It's that I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't give up. I remember one time when I was a kid, this is a funny story. I had my first pony. His name was Choo Choo, and he was 21 years old. And we had this big corral for him, and there was a line of trees down the center of the corral. And that pony I'd get on his back, trying to learn to ride, and he would run under a tree branch and knock me off. And I would get on his back again, and he'd run under the same tree branch and knock me off. And this must have happened like 10 times. That's what I meant by determined and strong, okay? And then finally, my dad, who was building the house that we were building our own house at the time. He was on the roof. He came walking down the ladder and comes over and goes, "Hey, you know what you could do?" And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Duck." He's like, "What do you?" I go, "What?" He goes, "Lean down on the horse's neck." So I did. I got under that tree branch finally. The horse was unable to knock me off, and I learned how to ride. But the point of the story is that I would keep hammering at something, and sometimes it was beneficial, and sometimes it wasn't, because my parents would get really annoyed with me for doing something bad or wrong, but it was because I was determined at 2, 3, 4 years old that I wanted something, and I would go after it like a cookie on top of the refrigerator, right? You'd climb my way up there like a monkey over and over again, not learning, because I didn't care if I got in trouble because I wanted the cookie. It wasn't that I was bad. I was just really determined. So, and I used to make up stories, and so they would say that I was, I would exasperate them with my stories, and that bothered them too. And so they had issues with that, and they just kept labeling me living in a fantasy world and things like that. So the story that I made up about myself came from the things that they said about me, right? And so as you're moving through your life and you're learning to use the internal guidance system, your mind is filled with stories that are not true for you. And these stories become the things that limit us in our life. These stories become the thing that actually has you believing what you're capable of or not capable of, how you have to make your money, right? A lot of us believe that money has to come to us, from a hard, determined work. I want to let you know I have a lot of very wealthy friends. I do not know why. It's something that just a lot of my friends have a lot of wealth, and it's just the people I get along with, and most of them did not work super hard to get it. They used their money in a way that was taught to them by their family and their relatives. The way that they manage and use money is not about hard work, which is amazing. That doesn't mean they don't work hard. They work hard because of passion, but that's not where their money comes from. Your health, how healthy you are, we watch from the way that our parents aged and how healthy they were, how active they were. All of these things that you have collected are stories that you tell yourself about your reality that is not necessarily true at all. And so if you have a closing, it's really, really important to examine your thoughts, because it is our thoughts that create our reality. When I first began doing this work, I started not as the internal guidance system piece, but as manifestation. Remember, this came originally, this work, from a cassette tape that I got from Abraham Hicks back in the early 90s. And so I understood the law of attraction, and I also understood that when I am in an opening state, an expanded state in the center of my body, that I am creating what is true for me. Now, as soon as you get on your own life's blueprint, because you're supposed to be living your life's blueprint, the more that you're open, your thoughts are actually moving you towards being on your blueprint. And the more that you're open and you're moving towards being on your blueprint, the more that the wheels are greased for your success, because you're actually dropping into alignment with what you're here to do. And that's where the miracles and the magic and the synchronicity that I talk about become the norm, is because the world around you, the universe, God, wants you to be living your life's destiny and purpose, wants you to be experiencing the things that you came here to experience. So I've had some issues with manifestation in the past, because you can want something that is way far outside of what is in alignment with your life's blueprint. And the problem is that through our lifetime, we're told from the outside world what success looks like for everyone. It looks like you have an X house and you have a particular career or a particular status in a career, and your children look a particular way and you look a particular way, and success is having a certain amount of money in a 401k, and whatever it is that you were told, you have to stop and double check everything that you were told about what's going to make you happy. You have to stop and check everything that you were told about who you're supposed to be in order to be successful. Everything that you have been given from the age since you were born, that you're living into right now, isn't necessarily true for you. And that's where the conundrum comes in, where someone can say, I want to X, and they'll get a closing. And they'll be shocked. How could something that I want not be true, not be opening? And it's because we've been given things in our head that we believe is going to make us happy or successful, or things that we have to do in order to be happy and successful that have nothing to do with our life's purpose and path. And that's where the confusion lies for a lot of people, and also why we can't get ahead. If you are trying to create and accomplish things in your life that are not for you, you will not succeed. You will have roadblock after roadblock and hiccup after hiccup and difficulty after difficulty, because you will be literally slowed down from creating something in your life that isn't for you to have. Now that doesn't mean that the thing that you want isn't wonderful. Like maybe you do want some ranch with I'm talking about myself. I want to retire on a ranch and have horses. I want to have a retreat center where I bring people to do work with me. I have a big vision for what I want my late 50s and 60s to look like and what I want to create. But they all open me. It used to be, when I was in my late 20s, that I wanted to go to work for the State Department and end up becoming an ambassador to a country. And I worked really hard to do that until one day I woke up and realized that I was closed. And that's when I started looking around and didn't know what to do with my skills, started an import-export company, which then eventually led me into technology and building a tech firm. And that was my passion. And to this day, I do everything online with my courses and my programs and my teaching. I do live events, but mostly everything I do is online. And my tech background has been the thing that has led me to be on the cutting edge forefront of the personal development business world, bringing online programs to life. And that's where my heart lies. But I would have never been able to figure that out without my internal guidance system. I can tell you right now, I would have ended up as a lawyer or working overseas, and I would not have been as happy as I am today, because my blueprint was to decode and deliver the internal guidance system. And your blueprint is something really important. So if you're finding that you are blocked and have been blocked for a couple of years, that things seem really hard, that it's not working out, I can tell you right now that there's a good chance that you're off your blueprint. I have a program called Stress to Happiness, and it literally walks you through clearing out all your closings. And the middle portion, there's 3 parts of the program. The middle portion is just getting people. We spend a good 2 months on just getting people to get rid of the dreams that are closing and finding the dreams that are opening, so their life gets easier and they're able to take hold of their life in a new way, because they can feel where they belong and what they're here to produce. And 100% of the people who go into the program end up dropping so many things that they believed they wanted, that they believed was in their alignment with what was going to make them happy in life, and it ended up being closing, and they needed to come up with something new. So I want to encourage you, look at the stories that you have. When you're frustrated, when you're irritated, when you feel guilt in your life, if you are rushing around and there's a story about having to get stuff done, overwhelm is another one. Overwhelm and rushing and impatience are 3 sisters that hang out together. And very often the story we have about when something needs to be done, how much it needs to be done, and how quickly it needs to be done is completely false. And that's the part of the thing that the barrier that's been put in front of you is the blocks to slow you down, because there is such a thing as perfect divine timing. And perfect divine timing is incredibly important, because when you're in divine timing, everything works out with ease. All right? So I'm not sure if our coaching is going to be working today. That was my message for the day. I don't have anybody that's come in for coaching yet, because something happened to my system and I lost all of my scheduled shows for this today, tomorrow, and next week. And I'm not sure if that means that I lost the coaching link, because each one has a unique coaching link. As I logged in today, everything said it was draft mode, and the reason why I was a little bit late is because I couldn't figure out how to get it out of draft mode and how to get the time and the date back, which would have been the scheduler. So today's going to be a short show. I'm not seeing anybody coming on, and I need to go and figure out what happened technically. But I want to let you know that I love you. I hope you have an amazing time in the new year. Tomorrow is our last free coaching event for everyone who's been on my list. And then on January 1st, you'll be given an offer, which is to be able to come and be in the membership and coach with me. It's $27 a month if you want to do this, and you'll be given a link through my email. And then you'll have access to all the coaching, as well as some extra curriculum. Every week will be released as part of the membership. So be looking for that in your emails, and think about the stories that you have running in your life. Literally every single thing in your mind has a story behind it. Everything, what you buy in the grocery store, who you have as friends, the way that you process political, conversations that are happening in the world, or conversations about our food or your health, or the story about your neighbor or your neighborhood or your community. There is nowhere in our existence as humans where we haven't made up some story. You can find what you believe about whatever it is, and those are the things that you want to be questioning. Because once you clear out the stories that are not true for you and you find the ones that are opening, right? What is true instead if this closes me? What is it? You go examining it, waiting for the opening and noticing what's opening. That's when your ship begins to right itself. So if your life's a hot mess, it's the stories you've got running behind the scene behind that are creating it. All right, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow at 11:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's Tuesday, December 30 or January 31st. Yeah, no, December 31st, New Year's Eve day. I will see you here tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Go forth and have an amazing day.